There was a time when the night sky was humanity's oldest cinema. Long before cities drowned the heavens with electric light, people looked up into an ocean of stars, glittering like scattered diamonds across a velvet void. Each glimmer told a story. Some were guides for navigation, others were myths carved into the sky, and still others were silent companions for those who wondered what lay beyond the fragile borders of Earth. But imagine this. You step outside one night, far from the city's glow, hoping to see the Milky Way unfurl across the darkness, and instead, the sky looks wrong. Constellations are broken. Whole clusters are missing. The silence of the heavens feels heavier, as if an unseen hand has begun to erase the stars themselves. The awe of infinity collapses into a new kind of terror. What if the stars are not eternal? What if they are not dying naturally, but vanishing, as though someone or something is turning them off? This chilling vision forms the doorway into one of the most haunting mysteries of modern thought, the possibility of a galactic exodus. It is a phrase that feels too large to belong in our vocabulary, galactic exodus. Yet the term captures a simple, unsettling possibility. Perhaps we are not witnessing stars dying in the slow poetry of physics. Perhaps we are seeing civilizations far older and greater than ours, leaving. The prologue begins not with answers, but with atmosphere. The tone of a disappearing cosmos is not the loud explosion of supernovae, but the quiet subtraction of light, one point at a time. Each missing star is like a seat left empty in a great theater. At first, we do not notice. But eventually, the absences multiply. We shift uncomfortably. The performance feels incomplete. We realize something profound. We are not the audience alone. We might be the ones being left behind. Across history, the stars have been humanity's most reliable constant. Civilizations rose and fell, empires built monuments, cultures recorded myths, but the stars remained. To imagine their absence is to step into a space of existential vertigo. The Greeks told stories of Orion, forever hunting. The Egyptians aligned pyramids to the belt of Osiris. The Polynesians crossed vast oceans, guided only by starlight. Every culture has bent its imagination toward the heavens. And yet, for all their permanence, even stars have secrets. Modern astronomy has revealed a universe alive with transformation. Stars are born in colossal nebulae, live radiant lives for billions of years, and die in ways both violent and quiet. But there are moments, strange, disquieting anomalies, when stars do not behave as expected. They fade too quickly. They vanish from our catalogs. They refuse to conform to the patterns of known physics. And so we enter the central tension of this journey, the contrast between science's natural explanations and philosophy's unnerving questions. We stand at the threshold of two possibilities. On one side, a universe of mechanical beauty. Stars follow the laws of thermodynamics, their deaths predictable and their disappearances explainable. On the other side lies a darker, more thrilling possibility, that advanced civilizations may be manipulating the heavens themselves, reshaping the galaxy in ways we cannot yet comprehend. A sky without stars is not merely an astronomical curiosity. It is a symbol of loss. It is the image of abandonment on a cosmic scale. If civilizations are truly leaving, vanishing into regions of the universe we cannot follow, then the night sky becomes a graveyard of light. We are left in the shadows, staring into absences we cannot explain, haunted by the thought that we were never invited. But woven into that same darkness is a thread of hope. For if stars are vanishing because of intelligence, because someone is out there, capable of deeds so vast we struggle to imagine them, then we are not alone. We are witnesses, however distant, to the footsteps of giants. And just as a child, looking up at the sky, once dreamed of crossing the sea of stars, So too might humanity find its own path toward that exodus. The vanishing is both a warning and an invitation. Cinematic documentaries live on contrast, and here the contrast is absolute. The comfort of the familiar sky versus the unease of its erasure. The timeless constellations versus the possibility of their betrayal. The known laws of physics versus the mystery of a will that might be greater. Hope versus dread. All versus abandonment. This prologue asks us to dwell in that emotional space. Not to rush toward explanations, but to feel the weight of the question. To imagine in all its raw unease, a universe that is not static but restless. A universe where stars are not only born and die, but may also be carried away, hidden, or consumed by designs beyond our comprehension. The story we are about to tell is not just about stars. It is about us. It is about what it means to live in a cosmos where permanence is an illusion, and where even the lights of the heavens may not be forever. To lose the stars is to lose our oldest mirror, our oldest map, and perhaps our oldest hope. And so we begin with a simple question that echoes louder than any answer. If the stars are vanishing, where are they going, and why? The night sky has always been a canvas of permanence. To the naked eye, stars do not flicker in and out of existence. They appear eternal, unmoving, and trustworthy. For countless generations, sailors depended on them, priests charted their patterns, and astronomers mapped their positions with meticulous precision. The stars were thought to be a backdrop, unchanging, timeless, immune to the chaos of human history. But silence is not only the absence of sound. It is also the absence of presence. And the first whispers of silence in the heavens came when astronomers began noticing not just strange stars, but missing ones. The earliest records of anomalies date back centuries. Ancient star catalogs, compiled in China, Mesopotamia, and Greece, documented constellations with astonishing accuracy. Scholars in these civilizations prided themselves on consistency. Yet even in antiquity, there were murmurs of stars that ceased to shine, or constellations that seemed incomplete compared to earlier descriptions. For centuries, these discrepancies were attributed to errors in copying or observation. After all, who would dare imagine that a star could simply vanish? Fast forward to the dawn of modern astronomy. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, with telescopes reaching unprecedented clarity, humanity began compiling the great stellar maps of the modern era. Stars were catalogued, indexed, and meticulously compared across decades. And yet, even then, odd inconsistencies crept into the record. A star once noted on a chart was absent in later surveys. At first, these were dismissed as mistakes. Human error is easy to blame. Perhaps the cataloger's mislabeled coordinates. Perhaps atmospheric distortion fooled the eye. Perhaps instruments of an earlier era lacked precision. But as observational technology advanced, the excuses grew thinner. The most unsettling evidence surfaced in the mid-20th century. Astronomers reviewing photographic plates, glass negatives that had captured the sky for decades, noticed something peculiar. A star that had been clearly visible in an earlier plate was simply gone in a later one. Not dimmed, not obscured, gone. One of the most famous cases is the Vanishing Star Project, where researchers compared digitized images of the night sky taken over a span of 50 years. They identified dozens of stars that appeared in early records but were absent from modern surveys. Some might be explained as rare stellar deaths, like supernovae, but others had no trace of explosion or collapse. The cosmic stage had not erupted in drama. The actors had simply exited, leaving nothing behind. This is the first silence, not the thunderous death of a supernova, but the quiet subtraction of existence. A disappearance without spectacle. It is here that tension grips us, because the human mind craves explanations. Natural astrophysics offers several candidates. Perhaps a star was hidden behind an unexpected dust cloud. Perhaps it dimmed into a faint remnant beyond the detection of our instruments. Perhaps the original sighting was never real, a ghostly artifact of faulty glass or faulty eyes. But with every perhaps, the mystery deepens. Some of the missing stars were bright, unmistakable. Some were recorded repeatedly. Some vanished in ways that should not be possible under known stellar life cycles. The silence becomes not just unexplained, but unexplainable. And this is where philosophy seeps in through the cracks of science. What if these disappearances are not accidents of nature? What if they are evidence of intention? Imagine a civilization so advanced it could cloak a star entirely, drawing its energy into vast megastructures invisible to our instruments. Imagine a society migrating from one star to another, abandoning its light like settlers leaving behind a once glorious city. Imagine cosmic architects carefully subtracting stars from the heavens, one by one, as though pruning a garden. It is this contrast, the rational comfort of astrophysics versus the unnerving possibility of intelligence, that transforms the missing stars into an existential riddle. On one side, silence as a glitch in our data. On the other, silence as the faint echo of departure. To understand the weight of this mystery, picture yourself in an ancient theater. The play begins with a full cast upon the stage. But slowly, without fanfare, one actor after another slips away into the shadows. No announcement. No explanation. The curtain never falls, but soon the stage is nearly empty. You sit in your seat, bewildered, wondering if you are still watching a story, or simply witnessing its abandonment. The missing stars are our theater, and humanity is the lone audience left behind. Astronomy thrives on patience. The scale of cosmic events often requires lifetimes of watching, measuring, and comparing. Yet patience only magnifies the mystery of disappearance. For if a star can wink out in mere decades, then the heavens are not as steady as we once believed. The silence is not slow, it is urgent. This urgency breeds unease. Scientists wrestle with their data, unwilling to leap into speculation but unable to ignore the anomalies. Philosophers whisper about the implications. If civilizations truly can erase or harvest stars, then humanity is not looking at a natural universe at all. We are looking at a landscape under construction, or deconstruction, by forces beyond our comprehension. For the viewer of this documentary, the emotional weight must be felt before the explanation. The first silence is not meant to answer questions. It is meant to evoke awe, dread, and a sense of being small in the face of absence. To realize that the sky we thought permanent may be mutable. To feel the uncanny sensation of seeing not what is there, but what is not. In the end, we are left with a contrast as sharp as night and day. Either the missing stars are natural errors, explainable through science we have yet to perfect, or they are not. And if they are not, then the silence of the heavens is not empty. It is filled with the shadow of intention. The first silence is the most frightening of all because it is subtle. It does not roar with cosmic explosions or dazzle with spectacular collisions. It whispers. It erases. It leaves us staring at coordinates where once there was light, and now there is nothing. And so the question lingers, like a ghost in the night sky. Are we misreading the universe, or are we watching it being rewritten? Long before telescopes pierced the darkness, before science offered models of stellar birth and death, humanity's first encounters with the heavens were mythic. The stars were not balls of plasma but gods, ancestors, messengers, and mysteries etched in eternal fire. They told stories of creation and destruction, of journeys across the cosmic sea. And within these ancient echoes, hidden among the myths, are haunting whispers of vanishing light. In Mesopotamia, one of the earliest cradles of astronomy, priests meticulously tracked the heavens. The Babylonians recorded planetary motions and star positions with mathematical precision. Yet in their texts, there are references to darkening omens, moments when a star disappeared from its expected place. To them, these vanishings were not astrophysical puzzles but divine messages. A missing star might signal the death of a king, the fall of an empire, or the wrath of unseen powers. The universe, in their eyes, was alive, intentional, and speaking directly to human destiny. In the vast deserts of Egypt, the stars were immortalized in stone. The pyramids were aligned to Orion's belt, embodying the god Osiris and his eternal cycle of death and rebirth. But Egyptian myths also spoke of the hidden stars, those that retreated into the underworld, swallowed by chaos, only to re-emerge when balance was restored. To the priests of Heliopolis, the vanishing of light was never random. It was part of a grand cosmic rhythm, a drama between order and disorder. Travel east, and the ancient Chinese astronomers left records unparalleled in their precision. They documented comets, novas, and eclipses with exacting care. Among their writings are enigmatic notes of guest stars that appeared suddenly and vanished just as mysteriously. Some we now interpret as supernovae, like the great explosion of 1054 that gave birth to the Crab Nebula. But there are other entries, more ambiguous, stars said to have disappeared without fire or explosion. To Chinese philosophers, such vanishings were tied to the mandate of heaven, a shifting balance of power between heaven and earth. Far across the Pacific, the Polynesians used stars not for philosophy but for survival. They sailed thousands of miles of open ocean, guided by constellations memorized with poetic precision. For them, each star was a wayfinder, a fixed beacon in the vastness. Yet even in their oral traditions, there are tales of stars that wandered away or fell silent. Such stories were told in hushed tones, as if to suggest that the cosmos itself could abandon the traveler. To lose a star was not simply an astronomical curiosity, it was to risk losing the map of existence itself. Among the Greeks, myth and proto-science intertwined. Constellations were legends written across the night. Orion the hunter, Perseus the hero, Andromeda the maiden. But Greek philosophers also wrestled with the permanence of the stars. Pythagoras and later Aristotle believed in the incorruptibility of the heavens. And yet, even they could not ignore anomalies. When stars appeared or disappeared, these events were framed as disruptions of cosmic order, signs that the boundary between the mortal world and the eternal might not be as firm as believed. The Mayans, too, lived by the clockwork of the sky. Their calendar was more precise than that of Europe for centuries. They tracked Venus with a devotion bordering on obsession. In their codices, references appear to darkened stars tied to cycles of creation and destruction. For them, the heavens were not merely passive, they were participants in history, aligning celestial events with the fates of cities and kings. When we step back and survey these cultures, a pattern emerges. Across continents, across languages, across centuries, humanity encountered the same unsettling experience. Stars do not always behave as expected. Sometimes they vanish. And when they do, people do not react with indifference. They react with awe, fear, and meaning. What unites these ancient echoes is not their scientific accuracy but their emotional resonance. To every civilization, the disappearance of a star was never meaningless. It was a sign of divine anger, cosmic balance, destiny, or danger. The heavens were not a stage set, but an active participant in the human story. Today, armed with telescopes, spectrographs, and data analysis, we might be tempted to dismiss these ancient accounts as superstition. And yet, there is a haunting continuity. When astronomers in the modern era report vanishing stars without clear explanation, their language, though couched in science, still carries the same awe and unease. We may not call it divine anger anymore, but we still feel the silence. Imagine an ancient priest standing in a temple, recording the sky on clay tablets. Now imagine a modern astrophysicist at a computer, scrolling through decades of digitized star catalogs. Both pause at the same haunting realization: a star once present is no longer there. The priest may see omen, the scientist may see anomaly, but both confront the same unyielding mystery. The light is gone. And here lies the power of contrast. The ancient world framed vanishing stars as sacred messages, while the modern world frames them as scientific puzzles. Yet both responses reveal the same truth: humanity cannot accept the silence of the heavens without searching for meaning. Whether that meaning is divine or technological, mythic or astrophysical, the need to interpret absence is as old as stargazing itself. This section is not meant to solve the mystery, but to expand its depth. It reminds us that we are not the first to stand bewildered under an empty patch of sky. Civilizations long before ours wrestled with the same fear: that the cosmos might not be as stable as it appears, that the eternal might falter, that the lights we trust could leave us in darkness. And so the ancient echoes of the sky resonate with the present. For every vanished star in our modern catalogs, there is a myth of disappearance from the past. For every anomaly in our telescopes, there is an omen in an ancient scroll. The question is not whether stars have vanished before, but whether humanity has always been trying to understand why. We end this chapter standing in the overlap of myth and science. Ancient voices whisper that the cosmos is alive, full of intention. Modern science tells us the universe is mechanistic, full of laws. But when the stars vanish, both voices tremble with the same unease. And we are left asking, is this disappearance a story written by the gods, or the trace of something far greater unfolding on a galactic scale? To understand why the vanishing of stars is so haunting, we first need to understand how stars should die. Their deaths are not sudden vanishings but grand finales, written across unimaginable scales of time. Every star carries within it a biography, and that biography is written in the language of physics. A star begins its life in a nebula, a vast, cold cloud of gas and dust drifting in interstellar space. Imagine a cosmic womb, silent, immense, and waiting. Gravity pulls matter together until, at the heart of the collapse, pressure builds and hydrogen ignites. In that ignition, fusion begins, and a star is born. From this fire comes everything: the light in the night sky, the warmth of our sun, the very elements of life itself. But nothing that burns can burn forever. The story of stellar death begins the moment of its birth, for the fuel that sustains a star is finite. How a star dies depends on its mass, and in this detail the universe tells us its most dramatic contrasts. Small stars, like red dwarfs, are the quiet ones. They burn slowly, consuming their hydrogen over tens of billions of years. To us, they seem eternal, and many of them will still shine long after our sun is gone. When their time comes, they do not explode but fade, cooling into white dwarfs, dense, faint, and lingering like embers of a once great fire. Eventually, they cool further into black dwarfs, invisible remnants scattered through the night. This is death as silence, not spectacle. Stars like our own sun tell a more dramatic story. The sun has already burned for 4.6 billion years and has perhaps another 5 billion to go. When its hydrogen runs out, the core will contract under gravity while the outer layers swell into a red giant. Picture the sun expanding until it swallows Mercury, Venus, and perhaps even Earth. The sky would turn crimson, the oceans would boil, and the cradle of humanity would burn. Yet even this is not the end. The sun will shed its outer layers in luminous shells, forming a planetary nebula, a glowing halo in space. At its center will remain a white dwarf, small but incredibly dense, holding the ashes of a once radiant star. But it is the massive stars, the giants more than 8 times the mass of our sun, that write the universe's most spectacular elegies. Their deaths are not gentle. When fusion can no longer sustain them, their cores collapse in a fraction of a second. Gravity crushes the heart of the star until it rebounds outward in a violent explosion, the supernova. For a brief moment, a single star can outshine an entire galaxy. The light from such deaths has reached Earth across the centuries, startling ancient skywatchers with stars that appeared suddenly and then faded away. Supernovae are more than cosmic fireworks, they are forges. Within their explosions, heavy elements are created: gold, silver, uranium, all the metals and minerals that form planets and, eventually, life. Every atom of iron in your blood was born in such a death. We are quite literally the children of stellar corpses. Some massive stars collapse further still. If the core is heavy enough, gravity wins completely, creating a black hole, an abyss where even light cannot escape. Others form neutron stars, objects so dense a teaspoon of their matter weighs as much as a mountain. These remnants are extreme, terrifying, and magnificent, the silent punctuation marks of cosmic narratives billions of years long. Here lies the baseline of natural expectation. Stars do not simply vanish. They die loudly, or they die quietly, but in either case they leave behind evidence. A fading star becomes a white dwarf. A collapsing star becomes a supernova, leaving a nebula or a neutron star or a black hole. Death is never clean erasure, it is transformation. This is what makes reports of vanishing stars so strange. They defy the established grammar of stellar life cycles. It is as though a sentence ended not with a period but with a blank space, leaving the reader unsure if the story was finished at all. The contrast between the expected and the anomalous is critical. When we witness stellar death as science predicts, we are awestruck but not unsettled. There is order in the destruction. A supernova might shake the heavens, but it confirms the rules of the cosmos. We know why it happens. We know what remains. We can measure, predict, and understand. But when a star is catalogued, recorded, photographed, and then gone, without explosion, without remnant, then the silence becomes unbearable. It is not the roar of death but the whisper of disappearance. And that whisper does not fit into the science of stellar mortality. Consider again the supernova. The Chinese astronomers of 1054 recorded it as a guest star so bright it was visible in daylight for weeks. Today, the Crab Nebula remains as its skeletal remains, glowing across the spectrum from radio to X-ray. The evidence is undeniable. Now contrast this with a star from a mid-20th century plate that is simply no longer there, leaving no nebula, no remnant, no trace. One is the music of death. The other is the silence of vanishing. This section grounds the documentary in scientific knowledge because without understanding the natural, we cannot appreciate the unnatural. The universe has rules. It has patterns. It has life cycles that are as dependable as the orbit of planets. And yet the very consistency of these rules makes the anomalies sharper, like cracks in a flawless mirror. The science of stellar death offers us both awe and reassurance. It tells us that the cosmos is not chaotic but ordered, that stars are not eternal but predictable. But it also frames the haunting question. If stars that should leave behind evidence are instead vanishing without a trace, then what is happening defies natural law. We are drawn back to contrast, order versus mystery, silence versus explosion, the known laws of physics versus the possibility of something else. For the stars that should die with grandeur but instead disappear without a whisper might not be dying at all. They might be taken, perhaps cloaked in megastructures that hide their light. Perhaps harvested for energy until they collapse unseen. Perhaps moved entirely, carried across space by civilizations whose engineering dwarfs our imagination. These ideas remain speculation, but they derive their power from the foundation of stellar science. We know how stars die. And that is precisely why vanishings without trace are so disturbing. The death of stars is the engine of creation. It is where elements are born, where galaxies recycle themselves, where life finds its raw material. To imagine stars disappearing outside this cycle is to imagine a break in the machinery of the cosmos. It is to imagine a universe being rewritten not by natural law but by intention. And so the science of stellar death is more than just an academic lesson. It is a stage. It is the contrast we must carry in our minds as we venture deeper into the mystery. When stars vanish, they are not obeying the script. They are improvising, or perhaps being edited out of the play entirely. The universe is vast, but it is not careless. Every photon of starlight follows a rule. Every burst of brilliance leaves a mark. A star that dies in a supernova paints the sky with radiation for centuries. A star that fades into a white dwarf can be tracked as it cools across eons. Death leaves fingerprints, trails, evidence. And yet, there are stars that appear to leave nothing. This is the puzzle of missing light. Cases where the cosmos does not play by its own script. The first unsettling whispers came not from telescopes peering into unknown galaxies, but from dusty archives. In the mid-20th century, astronomers began digitizing old photographic plates of the night sky. These glass plates, often stored in drawers for decades, contained snapshots of the heavens going back to the late 1800s. They were the time capsules of astronomy, allowing scientists to compare yesterday's universe with today's. And the comparisons revealed something strange. Stars that once burned bright in these plates could no longer be found. Coordinates where light had been recorded showed nothing but darkness in modern surveys. In some cases, dozens of stars vanished across decades of observation. They did not explode. They did not fade gradually. They simply disappeared. One project, now known as Vanishing and Appearing Sources during a century of observations, VASCO, cataloged thousands of such anomalies. Researchers reported that while many could be explained as errors, misidentified asteroids, photographic defects, or instrumental noise, some remained stubbornly inexplicable. These were not faint stars barely visible at the edge of detection. Some were bright, unmistakable, and well documented. Their absence could not be blamed on chance. The puzzle deepens when we consider how light behaves. A star cannot vanish overnight without producing a visible trace. A collapse into a black hole, for example, should unleash a cataclysm of energy. A fading into a white dwarf should be detectable in the infrared. A dust cloud obscuring the light would reveal itself in absorption lines. And yet, in these cases, none of those signs exist. The missing stars left no farewell. Consider the contrast. The Crab Nebula today is a glowing testament to a star that died nearly 1,000 years ago. Its filaments stretch across light years. Its radiation can be detected in wavelengths from radio to X-ray. Even in death, that star could not hide its passing. But when a star catalogued in the 1950s no longer shines in the 2000s, and nothing is left behind, no nebula, no remnant, then the silence becomes deafening. The puzzle of missing light is not confined to one corner of the sky. Anomalies have been reported in multiple regions, scattered across the galactic plane. Some may be errors, but the sheer persistence of unexplained cases fuels the mystery. If even a handful are genuine, then our understanding of stellar life and death is incomplete. And here is where the imagination leaps. If the stars are not dying naturally, then what is happening? Could civilizations far older than ours be cloaking their stars with technology, turning them into invisible furnaces that fuel their survival? Could stellar light be deliberately hidden from view, either to conserve energy or to avoid detection? Could entire stars be moved, transported through means we cannot yet conceive, leaving behind an empty patch of sky where once there was brilliance? To the cautious scientist, these ideas remain speculation. The more conservative explanations still hold sway: errors in observation, dust clouds more opaque than expected, exotic natural processes yet to be fully modeled. But to the philosopher, to the dreamer, to the restless human mind that looks up and refuses to be satisfied with silence, the vanishing of stars is a crack in the mirror of the universe, a crack wide enough for awe and fear to pour through. The emotional weight of this puzzle cannot be overstated. Imagine being an astronomer pulling up a catalog, expecting to see a star, and finding nothing. You check again. You confirm the coordinates. You double-check the records. And still, the star is gone. You are left staring not at light, but at absence. Not at a mystery that blazes, but at one that refuses to reveal itself at all. Absence itself becomes the mystery. It is not that something happened, but that nothing remains. This section sits at the heart of our journey. It transitions us from the scientific foundation of stellar life cycles into the darker terrain of anomalies. It reminds us that even in a universe governed by physics, there are places where the rules seem to falter. It forces us to confront the contrast between expectation and reality, the universe we believe we understand versus the one that confronts us with silence. The puzzle of missing light is not an answer. It is a question. It is the whisper in the dark, the unease at the edge of knowledge, the cold realization that what we think of as permanent may not be. These vanishings pull us deeper, urging us to look closer, to ask harder, to imagine farther. And so we are left with a chilling question. Are we witnessing errors of perception, or are we seeing the first signs of intention, a deliberate reshaping of the heavens by powers beyond our comprehension? The answer lies not just in science, but in the very boundary where science meets philosophy. The puzzle of missing light is both a data anomaly and a myth reborn. It is as though the ancient omens of vanishing stars have returned, but now dressed in the language of modern astronomy. The past and the present converge, and in that convergence, the silence of the sky speaks louder than ever. Science thrives on paradox. It is in the cracks between what should be and what is that revolutions are born. Paradox unsettles us because it forces us to hold two truths at once, truths that should not coexist but do. And when we gaze into the silence of vanishing stars, we find ourselves standing in the center of two of the greatest paradoxes in cosmology, Olber's paradox and the Fermi paradox. Olber's paradox begins with a deceptively simple question. If the universe is infinite and filled with stars, then why is the night sky dark? In an endless universe, every line of sight should eventually end at a star. The sky should blaze with light, brighter than the sun itself. And yet, when we look up, we see mostly blackness punctuated by scattered points of brilliance. For centuries, this question gnawed at philosophers and scientists alike. The eventual solution came with modern cosmology. The universe is not infinite in age. It has a beginning, the Big Bang, and a finite history of around 13.8 billion years. Beyond a certain distance, the light from stars has not had enough time to reach us. Moreover, the universe is expanding, stretching light into longer, fainter wavelengths. Together, these explanations rescue the darkness of the night sky. The paradox is resolved, or so it seems. But what happens when stars that should be visible, stars within our own galaxy, or near enough to shine clearly, are no longer there? Suddenly, the old paradox reopens. The darkness between the stars is no longer just the product of cosmic limits. It may be the result of subtraction. Something may be actively erasing points of light from the canvas of the heavens. Now consider the Fermi Paradox, a question that echoes through the halls of science and philosophy. If the universe is so old, so vast, and so full of potential for life, then where is everybody? Enrico Fermi posed this question in the 1950s, and since then it has grown into one of the most profound puzzles in human thought. With billions of stars in our galaxy alone, many older than our sun, the probability of intelligent civilizations arising seems almost inevitable. Some of them surely should be more advanced than us. Some of them surely should have left detectable signs, radio signals, artifacts, even visits. And yet the sky is silent. This silence stands in sharp contrast to the apparent abundance of opportunity. Life should be everywhere, and yet it seems nowhere. That is the paradox. Now imagine the vanishing of stars within this frame. Suddenly, the silence is not a lack of evidence but a kind of evidence itself. Perhaps civilizations are not absent. Perhaps they are leaving marks so vast we fail to recognize them for what they are. Perhaps the missing stars are not mistakes in our data, but the answers to Fermi's question, written in the ink of absence. The two paradoxes now merge into a chilling symmetry. Olber's paradox asks why the sky is dark when it should be bright. The Fermi paradox asks why the sky is silent when it should be full of voices. And the puzzle of vanishing stars whispers a disturbing possibility. Maybe the darkness and the silence are not coincidences at all. Maybe they are connected. Contrast sharpens the blade of mystery. On one side, science offers natural explanations. Dust clouds, stellar variability, errors in cataloging, all neat answers that soothe the unease. On the other side, philosophy pulls us deeper. What if the heavens are being edited? What if civilizations reach a point where their presence is no longer expressed through signals or artifacts, but through silence, by removing themselves from view? Imagine a galactic migration on a scale we can hardly picture. Stars harvested, cloaked, or even relocated. Entire regions of the sky slowly dimming as civilizations progress beyond our comprehension. To us, this looks like vanishing. To them, it may be survival, transcendence, or simply the next step of existence. The emotional impact of this possibility is staggering. We are used to fearing loneliness, that we are alone in the cosmos. But here lies a darker fear, not that we are alone, but that we are being left behind. That civilizations far greater than ours have already passed this way, reshaping the galaxy in silence while we gaze upward like children at a fading lantern show, never realizing we were not the intended audience. And yet paradox also carries hope. For if the vanishing of stars is artificial, then it proves that civilizations can endure long enough to alter their cosmic environment. It means survival is possible, beyond the lifespan of planets, beyond the slow death of suns. It means intelligence is not a flicker in the dark, but a fire capable of outlasting the stars themselves. This is the double edge of paradox. It frightens us with one hand and inspires us with the other. It pulls us into despair and then lifts us into awe. To confront paradox is to feel small and infinite at once. The section closes not with resolution, but with deepening tension. For every paradox solved, another emerges. The night sky, which once seemed simple and eternal, is now a hall of mirrors reflecting contradictions. We thought we knew why the sky was dark. We thought we knew why it was silent. But if stars are vanishing, then perhaps we do not know either. And so we leave with a haunting question, one that straddles physics and philosophy. What if the darkness of the sky is not the absence of stars, but the presence of intention? What if the silence of the universe is not a void, but a message? When we think of civilization, we think of cities, of lights flickering in the night, of roads and towers, of human hands shaping the landscape. But what if civilization is not limited to cities, nations, or even planets? What if it can grow so large, so powerful, that it reshapes entire stars or entire galaxies? In 1964, the Soviet astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev proposed a way of measuring civilizations not by their culture or technology, but by their energy. Energy is the currency of survival. Every fire we light, every machine we build, every digital signal we transmit, all of it flows from energy. Kardashev realized that as civilizations advance, their energy needs expand, and so too must their ability to harness the cosmos itself. Thus was born the Kardashev scale, a ladder of cosmic ambition. A Type 1 civilization masters the energy of its own planet. It controls the winds, the seas, the tectonic rhythms of the Earth. Humanity, for all our progress, has not yet reached this stage. We are perhaps a 0.7 on the Kardashev scale, clinging to fossil fuels, grasping at nuclear fire, barely beginning to touch the power locked in the atom or the sun. A Type 2 civilization masters the energy of its star. Imagine a species building vast structures around its sun, capturing every photon of light, redirecting its brilliance to fuel technologies beyond our imagining. To us, this would look like the dimming, or even disappearance, of the star itself. Its energy would no longer radiate freely into the cosmos. It would be captured, hoarded, used. A Type 3 civilization transcends even this, harnessing the energy of its entire galaxy. Such a society would move stars as we move stones, harvest nebulae as we harvest crops, and shape the spiral arms of galaxies as casually as we carve rivers into fields. Their presence would be unmistakable, not through radio signals or spaceships, but through the rearrangement of light itself across cosmic scales. For Kardashev, this scale was not fantasy, but extrapolation. It was a logical extension of what survival demands. Just as humanity once grew from fire pits to power plants, so too might civilizations grow from the heat of a single sun to the power of billions. Now pause for a moment and imagine what this means for the puzzle of missing stars. When a star vanishes from our records, when its light no longer shines into the night, could we be witnessing the fingerprints of a Type 2 civilization? Could the absences scattered across the galaxy be the silent works of beings who have already ascended this ladder, cloaking their suns in shells of technology, leaving us to stare at nothing where once there was brilliance? Contrast floods the imagination here. To us, stars are unreachable gods blazing at distances so vast we can only observe them. To a Type 2 civilization, a star is a resource, a furnace to be engineered, a tool. To us, a galaxy is a tapestry of wonders. To a Type 3 civilization, it is clay, shaped, molded, restructured according to their design. The emotional weight of this contrast cannot be overstated. Humanity stands at the bottom of the ladder, gazing upward, still quarreling over energy grids and dwindling resources. Above us loom hypothetical civilizations who wield the power of suns and galaxies as casually as we wield electricity. The gap is staggering, humbling, even terrifying. And yet Kardashev's vision also offers hope. The very existence of this scale suggests that progress is possible. Civilizations need not die young. They need not vanish into silence after a few centuries of industrial flame. They can grow, endure, expand, until their legacy is written not in ruins, but in the architecture of the cosmos itself. This is the narrative pivot. Missing stars, instead of symbols of despair, may be monuments of survival. Their absence may not mean death, but transformation. A star hidden from us may not be extinguished. It may be burning brighter than ever, its energy coursing through machines beyond comprehension. The vanishing becomes not an end, but a beginning, just not ours. To illustrate this, consider the imagery of a Dyson sphere, a megastructure first imagined by physicist Freeman Dyson in 1960. A civilization might build a swarm of satellites around its star, capturing its energy completely. From the outside, the star would appear to vanish, its light swallowed, its warmth diverted. To us, this would look like disappearance. To them, it would look like immortality. Now stretch this concept across the galaxy. What would a Type 3 civilization look like? Perhaps it would appear as a galaxy where certain regions glow faintly in the infrared as waste heat leaks from countless engineered stars. Perhaps it would appear as galaxies dimmer than expected, their visible light drained away. Perhaps it would appear as stars missing from our sky. Here, science and philosophy intertwine. Science offers the framework, energy, structures, physics. Philosophy asks the deeper questions. Why? Why would a civilization seek to master such power? Is it survival, to escape the inevitability of entropy? Is it expansion, a drive to grow without limit? Or is it something stranger, motives we cannot yet even name? The Kardashev scale is not merely a measure of power. It is a mirror. It reflects what we value, what we fear, what we hope. When we imagine Type 2 and Type 3 civilizations, we are also imagining our own possible futures. Do we see them as threats, gods, neighbors, or ancestors? Do we envy their mastery, or do we dread their silence? The cinematic weight of this section lies in contrast. Humanity's flickering lights against the imagined glow of galactic civilizations, our fragile grasp of energy against their command of entire suns, our questions against their silence. Awe and fear, hope and despair, intertwined in the vision of what could be. And so the vanishing of stars takes on a new face. No longer just anomalies, they become possible signatures of greatness. The absences in the sky are no longer voids but footprints, signs that someone has passed this way before us, building, harvesting, departing. The darkness itself becomes evidence. As this section closes, the question sharpens. If civilizations can reach Type 2 or Type 3, then why do we not see them everywhere? If their works are written across the galaxy, then why is the sky not full of signs? Unless the signs are there, but we are mistaking them for nothingness. Unless the vanishing stars are not errors, but messages. We are left with a haunting invitation. Perhaps the silence is not absence. Perhaps it is presence, written in a language we are only just beginning to learn. When you gaze at the sun, you are looking at a star that burns with the power of 10 billion nuclear bombs per second. Its energy radiates in all directions, spilling wastefully into the void. To us, it is abundance almost beyond comprehension. To a civilization hungering for survival, it is opportunity, an energy source so immense that, if harnessed, it could fuel their future for millions of years. This is where the imagination of Freeman Dyson ignited. In 1960, Dyson proposed that an advanced civilization might surround its star with a swarm of collectors, satellites, mirrors, or panels, designed to capture the star's radiation. This structure, which later came to be called a Dyson sphere, would absorb nearly all the visible light of the star, converting it into usable power. To distant observers like us, the star would seem to vanish. The beauty of the Dyson concept lies in its simplicity. It is not magic, not fantasy, but engineering extended to cosmic scales. Just as humans once surrounded rivers with dams and cities with walls, another species might one day surround its star with technology. The result, the ultimate power plant. But what does a Dyson sphere look like to us across the gulf of space? Visible light would disappear, trapped within the structure. Yet energy cannot be destroyed, it must go somewhere. The captured energy, when used, would eventually be re-emitted as waste heat. That heat would shine in the infrared spectrum. To us, the star would vanish from sight, but in its place, a faint, ghostly glow might linger, whispering of artificial origins. Now imagine this across hundreds, thousands, or even millions of stars. A patch of sky once sparkling with brilliance could dim, transforming into a dark void with only faint infrared traces. To astronomers charting the heavens, this would appear as stars that no longer match their records, vanished without explosion, without warning, without explanation. The implications are staggering. If even a handful of the missing stars in our catalogs are hidden by Dyson spheres, then we are not alone. We are surrounded by civilizations so advanced they manipulate their suns like toys. The vanishing stars would not be symbols of death, but monuments to survival, endurance, and cosmic ambition. Yet contrast sharpens the unease. What does it mean for a species to build such structures? Is it desperation, a civilization on the brink of exhausting its planetary resources, forced outward by necessity? Or is it ambition, an empire seeking limitless growth, unwilling to stop even at the scale of suns? The answer may lie in the word harvesting. To harvest is to consume, to transform living abundance into sustenance. Human history is a story of harvests, the taming of fire, the domestication of crops, the drilling of oil. Each harvest brings growth, but also risk. We consume faster than we replenish. We create abundance, but also waste. If civilizations harvest stars, do they too risk overreach? Does the pursuit of energy become endless, devouring system after system until galaxies themselves are consumed? Here, philosophy meets fear. The Dyson sphere is both a symbol of survival and a warning of appetite without limit. It is the fire that can light the future or consume it. To us, its image is awe-inspiring. To them, perhaps, it is necessity. Consider also the cultural silence of such civilizations. A species capable of building a Dyson sphere may have no interest in communication. Why send radio signals to the void when one can bend the light of suns? Why waste effort announcing oneself to younger civilizations when survival demands focus on the stars themselves? Their silence, paired with the vanishing of stars, may not be ignorance of us, but indifference. The cinematic imagery here is overwhelming. Picture a night sky where stars wink out one by one, not because they die, but because someone has wrapped them in a cloak of technology. To us, it looks like disappearance. To them, it looks like light captured, hunger satisfied, progress secured. And yet, for all its grandeur, the Dyson concept is not without flaws. The engineering required is beyond anything we can imagine. Millions of individual satellites, stable orbits, unimaginable materials, coordination across decades or centuries, all of it strains credulity. But then again, so too would the internet or spacecraft to a Bronze Age farmer. What seems impossible today may be trivial tomorrow. Astronomers have begun to search for these signatures. Surveys of the sky look not only for light, but for the infrared whispers of vanished stars. One such case, the star known as KIC 846285 or Tabby's star, captured the imagination of the world in 2015. Its bizarre, irregular dimming led some to speculate about alien megastructures. Natural explanations eventually gained more weight: dust clouds, planetary fragments, but the allure of the Dyson possibility lingers. Tabby's star was a reminder: the universe does not behave as neatly as we expect, and the strange should never be dismissed too quickly. What if Dyson spheres are real, scattered across the galaxy? What if some of the missing stars in our catalogs are the first subtle hints of civilizations harvesting their suns? What if the dark voids we map in the heavens are not absences at all, but presences beyond our comprehension? This is the tension, awe, and dread. The awe of civilizations mastering the fire of stars. The dread of wondering what such mastery means for those of us still bound to a fragile world. Do Dyson builders leave room for neighbors? Or do they see the galaxy as their field to harvest, system by system, star by star? The section closes with a haunting image: humanity standing beneath the night sky, watching stars vanish, never knowing if they are dying naturally or being consumed by civilizations far beyond us. The stars do not speak. They do not explain. They only fade. And in their fading, they pose a question. Are we witnessing the death of stars, or the birth of gods? For as long as we've stared into the heavens, we've asked a question both simple and haunting. If the universe is so vast, why is it so quiet? Billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, countless planets that statistically should teem with life. And yet, silence. No voices on the cosmic airwaves. No lights blinking in code. No neighbors waving from across the void. This paradox, first sharpened by physicist Enrico Fermi, became known as the Fermi Paradox. Asterisk, where is everybody? Asterisk, if civilizations can arise, and if even a fraction survive long enough to expand, the galaxy should be full of signals, structures, and signs. Yet we see nothing, only stars, only silence. And here lies the tension that threads through every vanished star. Are we misinterpreting silence as emptiness when, in fact, it is fullness hidden from our view? Are the missing stars themselves the answer to Fermi's question, the footprints of civilizations who choose not to broadcast, but to cloak? Consider the nature of silence itself. Silence is not nothing. Silence can be deliberate. In music, silence gives shape to sound. In conversation, silence can signal anger, reverence, or awe. In the wilderness, silence may be the warning of a predator nearby. Perhaps, in the universe, silence is not absence, but strategy. Imagine a civilization advanced enough to build Dyson spheres or to reconfigure star systems. Such a species might see communication the way we see fire signals on mountaintops: primitive, risky, wasteful. Broadcasting loudly into the galaxy could be an invitation to danger, a beacon not just for friends but for predators. In such a universe, the wisest move is not to shout, but to vanish. To dim the lights, cloak the stars, and let silence be the strongest shield. This reframes the puzzle of vanishing stars. What looks like emptiness may be camouflage. What looks like disappearance may be a whisper. Asterisk, we are here, but you will not find us. Asterisk, contrast this with human longing. We are a species desperate for contact, sending radio waves into space, attaching plaques to spacecraft, dreaming of voices that answer back. We equate silence with loneliness. But perhaps silence for them is survival. What we perceive as haunting absence may, from their perspective, be life's only insurance. The cinematic image sharpens. The Milky Way, not as a sea of untouched stars, but as a stage where the brightest lights are intentionally dimmed. Civilizations that survived did not announce themselves. They withdrew, cloaked, vanished. And all that remains for us are gaps in the tapestry, absences mistaken for nothing. But silence has another face, time. Perhaps the silence between stars is not strategy, but simply distance, measured in centuries and millennia. Our radio transmissions have been traveling outward for barely 100 years, a whisper into the ocean. Perhaps others have spoken, but their signals have not yet reached us. Perhaps we are living in the pause between messages, the long breath of a cosmos where conversation stretches across epochs. And yet there is unease. Silence can also mean extinction. Civilizations may rise, burn brightly, and fall silent forever. Technology may not guarantee survival. Great empires may collapse inward, devoured by their own energy needs, undone by their own creations. If so, then the vanishing stars may not be Dyson spheres at all. They may be tombstones, cosmic markers of species that consumed themselves until even their suns seemed to fade. Thus silence holds two possible interpretations: survival or death, camouflage or collapse. progress or graveyard. The emotional contrast here is deliberate, pulling us between awe and dread. We cannot yet know which is true, but both possibilities haunt the imagination. What deepens the mystery is that we are searching. SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, has swept the skies for decades, listening for signals. They have found none. Astronomers mapping the stars record disappearances, irregularities, shadows that do not fit. And yet we have no confirmation. The silence holds. The void resists explanation. Perhaps, as some philosophers suggest, we are not equipped to recognize the signs. If a Type 2 or Type 3 civilization has mastered energy and physics far beyond ours, their communications may not resemble anything we know. They may speak in gravitational waves, in neutrino pulses, in cosmic structures that stretch across light years. To us, it looks like silence. To them, it may be a symphony. This raises the haunting possibility: what if the missing stars are the message? What if the only way to announce presence safely is not through sound or light, but through absence itself? A vanished star becomes a deliberate signature, a way of saying, we are here, but you will not hear us. You will only see what we choose you to see. And then comes the chilling thought: perhaps we are not meant to notice. Perhaps the vanishing is designed to be subtle, detectable only by civilizations advanced enough to question it. In that case, our noticing may be the first step in crossing an unspoken threshold, a test of perception. Who can see absence as presence? The silence between stars is thus not empty. It is heavy, weighted with possibility. It could be the sound of civilizations hiding, surviving, thriving. It could be the echo of civilizations gone, the ruins of ambition burned out long ago. Or it could be the pause before revelation, the long breath before the cosmos speaks in a voice we cannot yet comprehend. And so we end with a haunting paradox: silence is not nothing. It is the most eloquent message of all. The question is not why the universe is silent. The question is, what is the silence saying? Imagine a night sky not as static, but as fluid, a place where civilizations are not rooted but migratory. Just as birds cross continents, just as nomads once crossed deserts, so too might advanced beings drift across the stars, abandoning their homes and leaving their suns behind. What if the vanishing star cities are not symbols of death, but signs of departure? What if we are witnessing the faint traces of a galactic exodus? The idea is as provocative as it is unsettling: entire civilizations uprooting themselves not from cities or planets, but from entire star systems. But why would they leave? Why would a species capable of harnessing its sun, capable of engineering entire worlds, choose to abandon everything and vanish into the void? Here, science and philosophy intertwine. Survival, opportunity, fear, and destiny all may be motives for migration on cosmic scales. And just as human history has seen exoduses driven by famine, war, faith, and exploration, the stars themselves may echo those ancient migrations, amplified to unimaginable proportions. One possible reason is simple: survival. Stars are not eternal. They burn through their fuel, shifting from stability to instability. For a species that depends on a star's light and energy, this is a ticking clock. Our own sun, in billions of years, will expand into a red giant, boiling oceans and burning the earth. A civilization far older than us might face this fate now. Their only choice: leave. Seek new suns before their own betrays them. But survival alone cannot explain the vanishing of multiple stars across regions of the sky. Survival is gradual. Stars die slowly, predictably. Their deaths cannot account for sudden disappearance. The exodus theory demands another layer, a deliberate leaving not because a star dies, but because staying is no longer desirable. Consider resources. A star system is vast but not infinite. Planets can be stripped of minerals. Asteroids can be mined hollow. Moons can be melted down for fuel. Over millennia, a civilization might exhaust everything their system has to offer. In that moment, the star becomes a prison, an anchor tying them to scarcity. Why remain in a cage when the galaxy is filled with abundance? The exodus becomes not a desperate flight, but a grand migration toward richer pastures. There is also the question of entropy. As systems age, disorder increases. Cosmic dust clogs orbits. Debris multiplies. Heat spreads unevenly. In time, the environment of a star system may degrade, not catastrophically, but enough to make efficiency impossible. The allure of pristine, younger systems could draw civilizations outward. To us, this would look like abandonment, like stars being wrapped in silence and left behind. Yet perhaps the most haunting reason is fear, not of their stars, but of each other. Imagine a galaxy filled with advanced civilizations, each hungry for energy, each capable of stellar engineering. Conflict would be inevitable. In such a galaxy, the safest course might not be to announce oneself, but to leave, to vanish, to migrate into the interstellar dark, hidden between the stars, beyond easy detection. The vanishing stars might not be abandoned at random. They may be deliberate decoys, sacrifices left behind to mask the true paths of escape. This theory reframes the silence of the cosmos. Perhaps we do not hear other civilizations because they are already gone, having departed their suns. Perhaps they live in the dark spaces between galaxies, in vast ships or artificial worlds, their migrations leaving trails of absence that appear to us as vanishing stars. The cinematic image grows clearer. Imagine standing on Earth, gazing upward, and noticing that constellations no longer match the maps. A cluster of stars has dimmed, then vanished. Not exploded, not aged, simply gone. And in their absence, a narrative emerges. A civilization has left. The lights were not extinguished, they were turned off. The theater is dark, but the actors have moved to a new stage. What would such an exodus look like technologically? Some theories imagine colossal generation ships, worlds unto themselves, capable of carrying billions across interstellar gulfs. Others propose star lifting, where civilizations siphon energy from a star itself, converting it into fuel for the journey. Even more exotic are concepts of migrating in digital form, entire species uploading their consciousness into data streams carried by probes no larger than asteroids. To us, such migrations would leave little trace except the quiet vanishing of light. And yet the philosophical weight is immense. Migration means change. It means letting go of home. For a species, leaving its star would be like humanity leaving Earth forever, abandoning not just soil and sea, but every memory tied to them. Such a choice is not merely survival. It is transcendence. It is a civilization rewriting its identity. History echoes this. Human migrations have always carried dual faces, hope and fear, expansion and exile. The Israelites leaving Egypt. The Polynesians sailing into the Pacific. The Pilgrims crossing the Atlantic. Each carried both desperation and vision. Each carried risk and promise. A galactic exodus would be no different, only multiplied to scales beyond imagination. But then another question emerges. What do they leave behind? A Dyson sphere left intact but uninhabited? A husk of orbital ruins drifting like cosmic grave markers? Or nothing at all, everything dismantled, repurposed, carried with them, leaving only emptiness where once there was brilliance? For astronomers, that emptiness would look like a vanished star, unexplained, unrecorded. To us, it is mystery. To them, it is memory. Here, contrast strikes hardest. To us, the vanishing of stars is ominous, unsettling, a silence filled with dread. But to them, it may be triumph, the successful leap of a people beyond scarcity, beyond death, beyond gravity itself. The difference lies in perspective. To us, the absence is loss. To them, it is liberation. And perhaps the most profound possibility, what if the exodus is not of one species, but of many? What if galactic history is a cycle, civilizations rising around stars, then departing in waves, leaving the galaxy dimmer with each migration? What if the stars we see now are only the remnants, the few not yet abandoned, the faint lights left behind in a universe already half empty? This would make the vanishing stars not anomalies, but the rule. We may be the latecomers, arriving at a cosmic theater already emptied by generations who came before. The silence of the sky is not loneliness, it is aftermath. And here, philosophy deepens. If the galaxy is already emptied by exoduses, then perhaps our destiny is the same. Perhaps the future of humanity is not on Earth, not even within the solar system, but among the stars, leaving our sun behind, vanishing into the same silence we now fear. In that sense, the vanished stars are not mysteries at all. They are road signs. They are warnings. They are invitations. The section closes with a haunting paradox. What looks to us like disappearance may, in truth, be movement. What we call vanishing may, in truth, be arrival elsewhere. The galaxy may not be empty, but in motion. And if so, the vanishing stars are not the end of civilizations. They are the trails of their journeys, the fading echoes of migrations too vast for us to yet comprehend. Not all vanishings are voluntary. Not every silence is chosen. Some are forced. Some are sudden. Some are the scars left by catastrophes so immense they echo across light years, leaving behind not triumph or liberation, but ruin. When we speak of vanished stars, it is tempting to imagine civilizations slipping away quietly, orchestrating their own exodus. But history, both human and cosmic, reminds us that disappearance often comes violently. Extinctions on Earth were rarely migrations. They were cataclysms, asteroids striking, supervolcanoes erupting, climates shifting. Species did not walk away, they were erased. Could the same be true on the galactic stage? The universe is not a gentle place. Stars live and die in cycles of violence. They collapse into black holes, detonate as supernovae, or rip apart in tidal interactions with other stars. Entire planetary systems can be sterilized in an instant. Gamma ray bursts, jets of energy unleashed from collapsing stars, can sweep across the cosmos, sterilizing everything within thousands of light years. If a civilization were unlucky enough to live in the path of such a blast, their world would vanish in silence, Their star perhaps destabilized, their legacy erased in seconds. To us, from a distance, it might look like this. A star burns steadily for centuries, then one day it flickers and disappears from our sky. We would not hear the screams, nor see the cities fall. We would only note the absence, the quiet removal of light from the heavens. What we call a vanished star may, in some cases, be nothing more than a death cry written in photons, extinguished before we even had the chance to look closer. The scale of these disasters staggers the imagination. Imagine a world thriving, its skies filled with the glow of orbital stations, its oceans glittering with cities. Then imagine, without warning, a supernova detonating nearby. The atmosphere ignites. Radiation sears the surface. Oceans boil. In less than an hour, millions of years of progress vanish. Nothing remains but dust circling a dim corpse of a sun. For civilizations capable of interstellar reach, some disasters might be foreseen. They might flee in time, scattering into space before the final blast. But for others, too close, too dependent on their homeworld, the catastrophe would be total. A star vanishing in our records might be not their cloak, not their migration, but their grave. Yet catastrophe need not always come from the cosmos itself. Civilizations may bring ruin upon themselves. The same ambition that allows them to build Dyson spheres may tempt them into dangerous experiments, tapping energies too unstable, weaponizing forces too destructive, or triggering chain reactions they cannot control. Consider our own fears of nuclear winter, artificial intelligence, or climate collapse. Scale those risks to civilizations 1,000,000 years older than us. Could the vanishing stars be monuments not of survival, but of hubris? The image sharpens. A civilization harvesting energy from its star, building great shells and mirrors. But an accident, a miscalculation, destabilizes the star. Its fusion disrupted, it collapses or flares unpredictably. Within a generation, what was once a beacon of progress becomes a ruin. To outsiders observing from afar, it looks like disappearance. The star dims. Its engineered glow is gone. But what truly happened was catastrophe, not choice. And what if such disasters are not rare? What if the path to stellar engineering is littered with failure, each failed attempt resulting in collapse? The vanishing stars might then be warnings, markers of civilizations who reached too far, too fast, and paid the price. There is also the haunting possibility of war. If multiple civilizations exist in the galaxy, conflict may be inevitable. Wars waged not with bullets or bombs, but with stars themselves. Imagine weapons capable of extinguishing suns, of destabilizing stellar cores, of erasing entire systems. The aftermath of such a war would not be ruins visible from afar, but silence, regions of the galaxy where stars are simply gone. To us, the absence looks natural. To them, it is the echo of battles long forgotten. Even darker is the thought that these catastrophes are not accidents, but part of a cycle. Perhaps civilizations repeatedly rise, experiment, expand, and then collapse. Their lights vanish. Their stars dim. Over and over, across eons. What we see as random vanishings may, in truth, be the rhythm of rise and fall, the inevitable cost of intelligence at cosmic scale. Here, contrast deepens. For us, each vanished star is mystery, a puzzle to be solved. For them, if they were alive to tell it, it was tragedy, trauma, annihilation. We seek patterns. They lived through fire. To us, absence is curiosity. To them, it was ending. And yet there is a strange beauty in the thought that even catastrophes echo. Even if a civilization perishes, traces remain, dust enriched with heavy elements, debris scattered across interstellar space, patterns written into radiation. Every supernova seeds the galaxy with the materials for new worlds. Perhaps some vanished stars were sacrifices, their destruction fueling the birth of planets that, billions of years later, could host life anew. Thus, catastrophe is not only ending, it is also transformation. The silence left behind may one day give birth to new voices. The ruins of one civilization may become the cradle of another. What vanishes may, in time, return in different form. The narrative then swings between fear and awe. To imagine the vanished stars as catastrophes is terrifying, civilizations obliterated in an instant, their achievements lost forever. But it is also humbling. Even destruction feeds creation. Even silence can seed symphonies yet to come. In the end, the echoes of ancient catastrophes remind us of fragility. Stars are powerful but not eternal. Civilizations are ambitious but not invincible. The cosmos offers both sanctuary and peril. And as we gaze at the vanished stars, we must ask, are we looking at cloaked survivors, at migrating travelers, or at tombs left by disasters too immense for us to yet comprehend? We gaze at the night sky as children gaze at their parents, seeking comfort, seeking permanence. The stars, cold and distant, feel eternal to us. They seem unchanging, guardians of the heavens, beacons of continuity in a fragile world. But when we learn that stars can vanish, when we hear whispers of civilizations disappearing without trace, a darker thought stirs. If it has happened to them, why not us? The vanished star cities are not merely mysteries of astronomy. They are mirrors reflecting back our own vulnerability. For the first time in history, humanity is old enough to ask a terrifying question. Are we next? On Earth, the idea of permanence has always been an illusion. Mountains rise and erode. Oceans expand and contract. Species dominate and then vanish. 99% of all creatures that ever lived here are gone. Our own survival has been a knife-edge balancing act, escaping predators, outlasting ice ages, surviving plagues. Civilization itself, from its first spark, is little more than a blink in cosmic time. And yet we imagine ourselves immune. But the stars tell a humbler story. If civilizations older and more advanced than ours have vanished, if their suns themselves have gone dark, then what is humanity but the next in line? We are fragile, perhaps more fragile than we dare to admit. Nuclear arsenals still hang over us like the sword of Damocles. Climate instability grows more urgent with every passing year. Artificial intelligence, genetic manipulation, and biotechnology promise both salvation and ruin. Every advance doubles as a gamble. Here, the cinematic tension sharpens. Contrast. We stand at the dawn of spacefaring potential. We send rovers to Mars, telescopes into orbit, probes into interstellar space. We dream of colonizing the moon, building cities under Martian skies, mining asteroids for resources. These are bold steps, hopeful steps. And yet, simultaneously, we stand on the edge of self-destruction. Our systems fragile, our politics volatile, our wisdom often outpaced by our technology. What if the vanished civilizations faced the same paradox? What if their downfall was not inevitable, but chosen through neglect, hubris, or miscalculation? Then the vanished stars are not distant curiosities. They are warnings. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "He who fights with monsters should see to it that he himself does not become a monster." In the cosmic sense, Our monster is not an enemy from the stars, but our own shadow, the unintended consequences of our ambitions. The civilizations that came before may have faced the same shadow, and some may not have survived. Are we capable of learning where they may have failed? Or are we bound to repeat the cycle, adding our own star to the catalog of vanishings? The question reaches beyond science into existential dread. What is the purpose of civilization? Is it to build higher towers, faster machines, grander networks? Or is it to endure, to ensure that intelligence does not vanish from the cosmos once more? If survival is the ultimate philosophy, then every choice we make, every war fought, every resource burned, every technology unleashed, becomes a gamble not just for us, but for the galaxy's memory of intelligence itself. Picture Earth as it appears from afar, a pale blue dot glowing faintly in the darkness. Imagine another civilization centuries from now turning their telescopes toward our sun. What would they see? Would they see the thriving glow of activity, the telltale shimmer of orbital structures? Or would they see silence, our light dimmed, our legacy erased? Would our sun, too, one day appear to vanish, not because it failed, but because we did? The thought is chilling, but also empowering. Fragility does not have to mean inevitability. Recognizing our precarity is the first step to transcending it. For the first time in the history of life on Earth, a species has the knowledge and the means to consciously guard its survival. We understand nuclear physics. We can monitor asteroids. We can model climate shifts. We can envision long-term futures. The question is not whether we are doomed. The question is whether we will act. Contrast again sharpens the narrative, fear and hope. On one side lies the image of us joining the vanished. The Earth a barren relic, our cities turned to dust, our records buried and unread. On the other lies the image of us stepping into the role of galactic survivors, migrating beyond Earth, perhaps beyond the solar system itself, carrying our flame into eternity. Which image becomes reality depends not on fate, but on choice. Philosophy demands we face the deeper question. Why survive at all? Why fear vanishing? Perhaps extinction is simply the universe's way, the endless cycle of creation and erasure. Why should we fight against it? The answer lies in meaning. To vanish without striving, without attempting to endure, is to abandon meaning itself. To resist oblivion is to assert value, to declare that consciousness matters, that intelligence is not an accident but a treasure. And yet, what if survival itself means change so radical that we no longer recognize ourselves? What if transcending extinction requires us to abandon biology, to merge with machines, to upload into networks of light drifting between stars? Would we still be human? Or would we, too, vanish, leaving behind something unrecognizable, a new species born from our ashes? The vanished stars, then, do not merely provoke fear of destruction. They provoke reflection on transformation. Perhaps those civilizations did not die. Perhaps they became something so different that we would not know them, even if we saw them. Perhaps vanishing is not always loss. It is evolution. So, are we next? The answer depends on what we mean by we. Biological humans? Perhaps. The cultures and languages of today? Almost certainly. But intelligence, consciousness, awareness, those may survive if we choose paths of resilience, adaptation, and transcendence. The stars remind us, permanence is not given. It must be made. The vanished civilizations, whether destroyed or transformed, whether migrating or extinguished, offer us both a warning and a map. The warning, fragility. The map, possibility. We are at the threshold of choice. The cosmic silence is not inevitable. It is conditional. It is shaped by decisions. As the section closes, the camera lingers on Earth, floating in the darkness. Clouds swirl. Continents glow with light. Our sun burns steadily, for now. And in the distance, the vanished stars wait, silent reminders of what can be lost and what might yet be saved. Humanity's challenge is clear: to listen to the silence, to learn from it, and to decide whether we will be the next vanishing or the first to endure. The night sky, when viewed from a dark and lonely plain, seems utterly silent. Stars shine, yes, but they do not speak. The distances between them stretch so vast that even light takes millennia to cross. To our ears, there is nothing. No whispers, no music, only the illusion of stillness. And yet, silence is not always emptiness. Sometimes silence conceals. Sometimes silence is a veil. The vanished stars confront us with a riddle. Is the cosmos truly silent, or is there a hidden symphony playing just beyond the range of our perception? Astronomers call this riddle the Fermi Paradox. Given the age and scale of the universe, intelligent life should be abundant. There should be millions of civilizations. And yet we hear nothing. No signals. No evidence. No neighbors. The vanished stars deepen this paradox. Their disappearances suggest activity, transformation, change. Something is happening. But what? And why can't we hear it? Perhaps the silence is not silence at all, but music played in frequencies too subtle for us to detect. Consider the radio static we first beamed into space a century ago. Weak, undirected, scattered. By the time those signals travel a few hundred light-years, they dissolve into background noise. Another civilization searching for us might hear nothing, though we sing. What if the others sing too, but in keys we cannot recognize? Imagine civilizations so advanced they have transcended electromagnetic communication entirely. To them, radio waves would be crude, inefficient, like smoke signals across a continent. They may communicate through quantum entanglement, gravitational waves, or mediums we cannot yet conceive. To us, they are silent. To each other, perhaps they are a choir, exchanging symphonies of thought across the galaxy. The vanished stars might not be graves. They might be instruments, vibrating with messages we have not yet learned how to hear. But the silence could also be deliberate. Some philosophers and scientists speak of the dark forest hypothesis. In a forest at night, every creature knows that sound can bring death. To call out is to risk being hunted. Perhaps the galaxy is filled with life, but each civilization hides, cloaks its light, silences its signal, for fear of predators. The vanished stars may be camouflage, civilizations dimming their suns intentionally, vanishing from cosmic sight to survive. Here, the contrast emerges sharply. On one side, silence as loneliness, the tragedy of isolation, the possibility that we are truly alone. On the other, silence as caution, a secret pact among civilizations, a hidden symphony we are excluded from until we prove our wisdom. The difference is profound. One interpretation evokes despair, the other evokes awe. Yet silence itself is not neutral. It changes us. For decades, humanity has listened for signals through SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The microphones of our telescopes scan the stars, hoping for a whisper. So far, nothing definitive has come. Each day without a signal feeds a quiet unease. Are we truly the first? Or have all the others vanished, leaving us alone in the cosmic wilderness? The vanished stars fit into this narrative like missing notes in a song. If they are catastrophes, they warn us. If they are cloaks, they caution us. If they are transformations, they inspire us. But in every case, they remind us that silence does not equal absence. The silence of the night sky may simply mean we do not yet understand what to listen for. Consider music itself. A child hearing a symphony for the first time may only hear noise, violins, trumpets, drums clashing. But to the trained ear, the same noise becomes harmony, meaning, beauty. Perhaps the galaxy is already singing. Perhaps the vanished stars are not disappearances at all, but changes in rhythm, movements in a cosmic composition so vast and slow that we have only heard the first bar. This thought carries both wonder and fear. If there is a hidden symphony, then the galaxy is alive, connected, threaded with meaning. But what if the notes of that music are written in destruction? What if the vanishings are not random, but orchestrated, a pattern of pruning, a symphony of silence? To frame it cinematically, picture a great concert hall. Lights dim. The orchestra sits in shadow. From our seat, we strain to hear, but all that reaches us is silence. Unbeknownst to us, the music is already playing, but at frequencies our ears cannot register. Are we outsiders, excluded from the performance? Or are we the opening act, destined one day to join? Philosophers wrestle with this tension, silence as warning, silence as mystery, silence as invitation. And the vanished stars hang in the balance, both evidence and question mark. What does it mean for us? If the galaxy is silent because it is empty, then the weight of survival falls entirely on us. We are not one civilization among many, we are the only voice. To vanish would be to end the song itself. But if the galaxy is alive with hidden symphonies, then our task is different. To learn the music, to tune our instruments, to find our place in the cosmic chorus. The possibility that we are already surrounded by life unseen, unheard, is both exhilarating and unsettling. It means we are not alone, but it also means we may be children wandering in a forest of giants, ignorant of the rules, vulnerable to dangers we cannot yet imagine. Silence becomes both comfort and menace. The vanished stars, then, do not answer the question of cosmic silence. They amplify it. They make the silence louder, stranger, more charged with meaning. They force us to ask, is the absence of evidence truly evidence of absence? Or is it merely evidence of our deafness? As the section closes, the camera would pan from the Milky Way, stretching luminous across the sky, down to a single human face gazing upward. The silence of the night is vast. But silence, too, is a canvas. It may be emptiness, or it may be the prelude to music we have not yet learned how to hear. What if the vanished stars are not tombstones but gateways? What if what we interpret as absence is, in fact, migration? This is the essence of the Great Exodus hypothesis, that advanced civilizations, upon reaching certain thresholds, do not die where they were born. They leave. The very phrase carries a shiver of awe, *exodus. Not a collapse, not an accident, but a decision. A civilization standing at the edge of its star, looking outward and choosing departure over stagnation. To disappear not in tragedy, but in transcendence. Consider our own history. Humanity has always been a migrant species. From Africa, we spread across continents. From islands, we launched into oceans. Each frontier seemed impossible until it wasn't. We left caves for villages, villages for cities, cities for empires. And when there were no new lands, we built ships to cross seas and rockets to pierce the sky. Why assume that others would behave differently? If survival demands movement, if curiosity demands expansion, then leaving the cradle is not an anomaly, it is destiny. But what does it mean to leave not a planet, but a star? The scale is almost incomprehensible. The energy requirements, the technological challenges, the timescales, they stagger the imagination. And yet the vanishings hint at precisely such ambition. Stars that once shone steadily now appear gone. Perhaps civilizations learned to cloak their suns or dismantle them, harvesting their power. Perhaps they drained their systems to fuel journeys into interstellar or even intergalactic space. To us, it looks like erasure. To them, it may be liberation. The imagery here turns cinematic. Imagine colossal fleets, not of 100 ships, but of billions. Arcs the size of moons, hollowed asteroids carrying oceans, biospheres, archives of knowledge and art. Imagine Dyson spheres, vast swarms of solar collectors, that at last reach their purpose. Once the energy is harnessed, once the preparations are complete, the swarm disassembles, the light fades, and the civilization launches into the black. From a distant telescope, all we see is the dimming of a star. We call it vanishing. They call it exodus. The Great Exodus hypothesis reframes silence into narrative. The galaxy may not be quiet because life failed. It may be quiet because life moved. Civilizations do not linger around their suns for billions of years, waiting for discovery. They grow, mature, and eventually depart, like children leaving home. To search for them where they began is to search in abandoned houses, expecting laughter in empty halls. Why would they leave? There are many possible motives. Survival may be the first. Stars are not eternal. Some swell into red giants, engulfing their planets. Others collapse into white dwarfs. Long before that, instability can threaten biospheres. To stay tethered to a single star is to accept extinction. To leave is to outlast the inevitable. But survival may not be the only reason. Perhaps they leave not from fear, but from yearning. A civilization that masters its star may find no greater challenge than the void itself. The universe beckons, and to remain is to stagnate. Just as we once looked to oceans and skies, they may look to interstellar gulfs, compelled by a restlessness written into the DNA of intelligence. There is also a darker motive. Some may leave to escape threats, cosmic or civilizational. A nearby supernova. A predator species. A war too vast to win. Exodus can be desperation as much as ambition. To us, the result looks the same. The star dims, the civilization vanishes. To them, it is survival through flight. And then comes the most haunting possibility of all, that the exodus is not voluntary but enforced. What if the galaxy itself has rules? What if some greater power, or some natural law we do not yet perceive, drives civilizations away once they reach a certain stage? The vanishings may not be chosen, they may be mandated. A galactic cycle of departure, pushing civilizations into exile from their natal suns. Contrast frames the hypothesis in light and shadow. On one side, the Great Exodus is noble, almost mythic, a species outgrowing its origins, spreading across the stars, ensuring the continuity of intelligence. On the other, it is tragic, the forced abandonment of home, the extinguishing of familiar light, the loneliness of wandering forever through the dark. Both interpretations capture human fears and longings. For us, the implications are staggering. If the Great Exodus is real, then the galaxy is not empty, it is mobile. Life is not clustered around stars, waiting to be found. It is moving, flowing, migrating. The silence we perceive is not silence at all. It is motion, too slow for us to notice, too immense for us to comprehend. We may be listening for voices in places long vacated, while the true chorus travels beyond our reach. And this leads to a chilling question. Is humanity preparing for its own exodus? Perhaps, without knowing it, we are already on that path. Our probes wander the edges of the solar system. Our telescopes peer outward, not just with curiosity but with intent. We speak of Mars colonies, asteroid mining, interstellar sails. These are the baby steps of a species that, in time, may face the same choice: remain and risk vanishing, or depart and risk transformation. The psychological impact of imagining such a future is profound. For millennia, home has meant Earth. Our myths, our faiths, our memories, all are tied to this planet. But if Exodus is the fate of intelligence, then even Earth is only temporary. One day, we may stand on its surface for the last time, looking at the sky as our ancestors once looked at seas, knowing we are leaving forever. Will we feel triumph or sorrow? The cinematic imagery returns. Picture fleets lifting from Earth, lights blazing against the black. Oceans sealed within domes. Forests carried as seeds. Human voices echoing in colossal halls. Behind us, the sun still burns, but one day it will dim, swallowed by time. Ahead lies an ocean with no shore. To us, it is frightening. To others before us, perhaps, it was liberation. The Great Exodus hypothesis thus redefines the vanished stars as not the silence of death, but the echoes of journeys. Each disappearance is not a failure, but a trace of departure. The stars are not graves, they are doorways. But the hypothesis also unsettles. If they left, where are they now? Should we not see trails, artifacts, signals? Or are their migrations so vast, so slow, that our moment of observation is a blink too brief to intersect their paths? Perhaps civilizations slip into intergalactic voids, leaving the Milky Way behind. Perhaps they merge into structures invisible to our instruments, building with physics we do not yet grasp. We are left with a dual vision. One version of the future sees humanity fading, Earth abandoned, our star left to burn in silence. Another sees us transformed, voyagers in a grand migration, part of a river of civilizations flowing through the galaxy. Both are possible. The vanished stars suggest that at least one of them is true. As the section closes, the camera lingers on the image of a dimmed star, then pans outward, showing thousands, millions, a galaxy alive with light and shadow. Somewhere out there, perhaps, the great caravans are moving still, silent to us, but alive with purpose. And the question hangs like a haunting refrain. Asterisk, when the time comes, will we follow? What if the vanishings are not signs of escape, not triumphs of migration, but warnings etched into the stars themselves? What if they are markers of failure, echoes of civilizations that reached for the heavens only to shatter against an invisible wall? This is the terror of the Great Filter hypothesis, that somewhere in the journey from stardust to intelligence, from intelligence to civilization, and from civilization to the stars, there lies a nearly impassable barrier, a filter through which almost nothing passes. The silence of the cosmos becomes chilling in this light. It does not mean life never arises, clearly it did here. It does not mean intelligence cannot blossom, again, we are proof. What it means is more unsettling, that there may be limits baked into the very fabric of progress, limits that nearly all civilizations encounter and that nearly all fail to overcome. The Great Filter divides possibility into two frightening branches. The first, the filter lies behind us. Perhaps life itself is so improbable, so fragile, that our very existence is a cosmic miracle. If this is true, then we are rare beyond comprehension, perhaps alone. Our survival is already the triumph of unimaginable odds. The second branch is darker still. The filter lies ahead. Somewhere beyond our current stage, beyond industry, beyond nuclear power, beyond artificial intelligence or interstellar travel, lurks the barrier. Civilizations rise, expand, build, and then vanish. Not because they choose to leave, but because they cannot cross the threshold. The vanished stars then may not be migrations or cloaks. They may be tombstones, evidence that the filter consumes all who reach a certain height. This is where contrast sharpens to cinematic terror. On one side, hope, the idea that we are special, the chosen few who slipped through impossibility. On the other, doom, the idea that our survival so far is temporary, that extinction waits just beyond the horizon. The silence of the galaxy becomes less comforting, more like the silence of a graveyard. The vanished stars are not mysteries, but monuments. But what could the filter be? Many candidates arise, each one frightening, each one plausible. It could be environmental collapse, a civilization poisoning its own cradle faster than it can escape. Planets heated by industrial ambition, seas rising, forests burning, skies thick with toxins, until collapse is inevitable. In this scenario, every advanced species repeats the same mistake. Intelligence evolves, discovers industry, burns fuel, consumes its home, and dies. The vanished stars would then be civilizations that destroyed themselves with their own brilliance. Or perhaps the filter is war. With great power comes great weaponry. Nuclear fire, engineered plagues, autonomous machines. Each invention carries both promise and peril. Civilizations might build arsenals they cannot control, weapons that consume their makers. Each vanished star becomes the echo of a final conflict, a war so total it left no survivors to speak of it. Another possibility, the filter, is technological singularity. Civilizations may build artificial intelligences that surpass them, not with malice, but with indifference. Machines optimize, reconfigure, repurpose, until the civilization that birthed them is erased, its creators absorbed into a system that leaves no visible trace. From afar, the star dims, the civilization vanishes, and nothing more is seen. But the filter need not be self-inflicted. The universe itself may hold dangers waiting for the ambitious. Gamma ray bursts that sterilize entire systems. Black holes lurking unseen. Cosmic phenomena that destroy civilizations before they can adapt. Or worse, asterisk predators. Advanced species that hunt others, eliminating competition before it matures. The vanished stars might then be casualties of a galactic game we have not yet joined. Each candidate strikes at the same fear, that the vanishings we see are not anomalies, but inevitabilities. That the galaxy is littered with civilizations that rose like us, dreamed like us, built like us, and then fell, leaving only silence. This is the dread of the great filter. It is not just a theory about others. It is a mirror held up to us. The vanishings whisper, asterisk, will you too vanish? Will your star too one day dim, its civilization extinguished before it could step into the wider cosmos? Asterisk, the psychological weight of this idea is immense. Imagine humanity not as the first note in a cosmic symphony, but as the last candle in a vast dark cathedral. Each vanished star is another flame already snuffed out. We burn alone, knowing the wind may come for us next. And yet, paradoxically, the great filter also sparks awe. For if the filter lies behind us, if the rare event was abiogenesis, the leap from lifeless matter to living cell, then we are a miracle. Alone, yes, but extraordinary. Our very existence would make us the rarest phenomenon in the universe, a singular flame in endless night. The vanished stars, then, are not warnings of failure, but reminders of our own improbable triumph. This contrast is where the narrative tightens, hope and despair, miracle and doom. To believe the filter lies behind us is to see humanity as chosen, destined to expand across the stars, guardians of life itself. To believe it lies ahead is to see us as doomed, a civilization racing toward an invisible cliff. The vanished stars hover between these two interpretations, refusing to reveal which one is true. Cinematically, imagine standing in a vast library. Most shelves are empty, covered in dust. A few books remain, their pages open, filled with stories of civilizations. But as you walk, you notice gaps where books once were. Some were never written, others were burned. Humanity's book is still being written, each page a step toward the unknown. Will it be completed, or will it, too, vanish mid-sentence? The terror of the great filter is sharpened by timing. We live in an age of thresholds. Our technologies are powerful enough to change our planet, perhaps irreversibly. Our weapons are powerful enough to erase us in a single day. Our machines grow smarter with each year, their capabilities racing beyond regulation. Are we walking directly into the filter, blind to its presence? Or are we already past it, free to rise beyond what others achieved? The vanished stars force us to wrestle with this tension. If their dimming marks civilizations extinguished, then the silence of the galaxy is not mystery, but prophecy. The stars say, you too will fall. If, however, the vanishings are migrations or transformations, then perhaps the filter is already behind us, and what lies ahead is not doom, but destiny. But until we know, the uncertainty gnaws at us. It is the uncertainty that keeps astronomers scanning the sky, philosophers debating, futurists warning. The great filter hangs like a shadow over every discussion of humanity's future. We cannot see it, cannot define it, but we feel it looming. As the section closes, the camera would linger on a single star, bright against the darkness. Then slowly it fades. The image is not of light, but of absence, the void left behind. A whisper of warning. The night sky is not only a theater of vanishings. It is also a stage of persistence. For while some stars dim, most endure. For every tale of disappearance, there are countless others of light unbroken, of suns still burning after billions of years. And within this enduring brilliance may lie the seeds of hope, the signs that survival is possible, even against the crushing weight of the great filter. What evidence do we have that civilizations can endure? At first glance, none. No clear signals. No alien beacons. No incontrovertible proof that anyone has made it past the shadow of extinction. Yet absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Just as silence can be mistaken for emptiness, so too can persistence be hidden from our sight. One sign lies in the sheer resilience of life itself. On Earth, life has endured calamity after calamity. Asteroids have slammed into the planet, cloaking it in fire and ash. Volcanoes have erupted with fury. Climate has swung from furnace to icebox. And yet life persisted. It adapted. It survived. The story of Earth is not of fragility, but of endurance. If life is this stubborn here, might it not be equally stubborn elsewhere? Another sign lies in cosmic time itself. Stars like our sun burn for billions of years. Civilizations may rise and fall, but the opportunity for renewal endures. Perhaps what we see as vanishings are not final deaths, but pauses, civilizations entering dormant states, hibernating, waiting for more favorable epochs. The light of their stars may dim, but the civilizations themselves may endure in silence, waiting to rise again. Consider also the possibility of migration not as exodus, but as survival strategy. A species may leave its home star not in despair, but in triumph, spreading across systems to avoid being bound to one fragile cradle. Such civilizations would be harder to detect, less centralized, less dramatic in their footprint. But that very dispersal is the key to endurance. Like seeds scattered by the wind, their survival lies not in one tree, but in the forest that follows. Even in our own small history, we see hints of resilience. Humanity has come close to annihilation, through plague, through war, through disaster, but again and again we adapt. Each challenge pushes us to new strategies, new tools, new forms of cooperation. If this is the pattern of intelligence itself, then survival is not the exception but the rule. Civilizations may fall into crisis, but those that adapt rise stronger. But perhaps the most profound sign of survival lies in the paradox itself. The galaxy is old, unimaginably so. If all civilizations were doomed to vanish, If none could endure, then why do we find ourselves here at all? Our very existence implies that survival is possible. For every vanished star, there must be some that did not vanish, at least not yet. Otherwise, the stage on which we now stand would never have been built. Cinematically, picture this as contrast. One star fading into blackness while another continues to shine, steady and unbroken. One civilization may fall, but another may endure. The night sky becomes not only a graveyard, but a field of survivors. And what of the vanished stars themselves? Could they too be signs of survival misunderstood? If a civilization cloaks its star, dims its light to escape predators or conserve energy, that is not death, it is endurance. To vanish from sight may be to survive in secrecy. What we interpret as disappearance may, in fact, be the cleverest act of all, survival by silence. In this light, the paradox of silence shifts tone. Instead of despair, no one is speaking it becomes mystery, perhaps they are speaking, just not to us. Perhaps the galaxy is filled with survivors, but their strategies for endurance render them invisible to our gaze. They endure by avoiding detection, by camouflaging their presence, by thriving beneath the radar of civilizations like ours. Even Earth whispers signs of this survival instinct. Deep in our oceans, creatures thrive around volcanic vents, in darkness, in pressure, in heat. Life endures in radioactive waste, in acidic lakes, in frozen tundra. If life can adapt to such extremes here, why not elsewhere? Why not civilizations too? To frame this cinematically, imagine a forest after fire. To the eye, it is devastation, blackened trees, scorched earth. But look closer, and beneath the ash, green shoots are already rising. Life is stubborn. It does not easily surrender. The same may be true for intelligence, for civilizations, for the vanished stars. And so the vanishings themselves may hold the key to hope. Each one is a question mark, not a full stop. Did they fall, or did they endure in silence? Did they die, or did they scatter? Did they vanish, or did they transform? We do not know. And in that uncertainty lies room for survival, for possibility, for hope. This is the contrast that gives the narrative its power. The great filter whispers doom. The persistence of life whispers endurance. The vanished stars could be tombstones, or they could be hiding places. The silence of the galaxy could be emptiness, or it could be strategy. Between despair and hope, we walk a razor's edge. But perhaps the most hopeful sign of all is us. Humanity stands at the threshold, facing the same dangers that may have consumed others. Yet even in our brief history, we have shown a capacity for resilience, for creativity, for survival against odds. If survival is possible anywhere, it is possible here. The vanished stars do not have to be our fate. They can be our warning, our inspiration, our call to endure. As the section closes, the camera would shift from a fading star to one that still shines bright and steady, lingering on its light. The voiceover would whisper, survival is possible. The galaxy may not be silent with death. It may be alive with endurance. And perhaps, someday we will prove it, not only to ourselves, but to the cosmos. When we gaze at the vanished stars, we are not merely looking outward into the cosmos. We are also looking inward, into the mirror of our own destiny. Every theory, whether exodus, cloaking, or collapse, ultimately circles back to a deeper question. What do these vanishings reveal about us? For the truth is simple and unsettling. We do not study these mysteries only to know them. We study them to know ourselves. The vanished stars are not just astronomical puzzles. They are reflections of human fear, human ambition, human possibility. In every explanation we project, we glimpse fragments of our own soul. When we imagine the vanishings as mass migrations, we reveal our yearning to escape limits. To leave Earth behind, to spread beyond this fragile cradle, to ensure our species endures long after this planet is dust. This is not only science fiction, but aspiration. We want to believe the vanished stars are travelers because, deep down, we hope that we too might someday travel that far. When we imagine the vanishings as cloaked civilizations, hidden beneath veils of technology, we reveal our anxieties about survival. We cloak ourselves in data privacy, in walls, in security systems, fearing the predators that might lurk in darkness. If others are hiding, then perhaps danger truly does stalk the cosmos. But it also affirms our instinct that survival often requires secrecy, discretion, strategy. The hidden stars become a metaphor for our own desire to endure unseen, safe against unknown threats. And when we imagine the vanishings as collapse, civilizations undone by their own power, we reveal our deepest fear, that we too might consume ourselves before we ever reach the stars. The vanished suns become mirrors of climate crisis, nuclear dread, and technological excess. They whisper of empires burning, of species undone by their brilliance. Every vanished star becomes an omen, a projection of humanity's possible self-destruction. In this way, the cosmic mystery doubles as a psychological one. The vanished stars are less about them, more about us. About the hopes we dare to imagine and the fears we cannot ignore. Each hypothesis is less a theory of aliens than a confession of humanity. Cinematically, imagine the camera lingering on a human face staring at the night sky, the reflection of stars in their eyes. As we look outward, we see ourselves reflected back. The galaxy becomes a mirror, each vanished light another angle of our own destiny. This mirror reveals contrasts as sharp as any in our storytelling. On one side, wonder, the hope that we might be extraordinary, destined to join others among the stars. On the other, dread, the suspicion that we are fragile, doomed to vanish just as others did. Hope versus fear. Aspiration versus caution. The vanished stars embody this eternal tension. Consider how every civilization's imagined future is shaped by its present fears. In the Cold War, the great filter was pictured as nuclear fire. In today's world, it takes the shape of climate collapse or artificial intelligence gone awry. Tomorrow, it may be something else entirely. The vanished stars become canvases onto which we paint our era's anxieties. They change with us, revealing what we most fear in ourselves at each moment of history. And yet, amid these fears, there is also inspiration. For even if the vanished stars are warnings, they are also challenges. They say, do not repeat our mistakes. Do not burn your world. Do not vanish into silence. If civilizations fell before us, then perhaps their legacy is caution, their gift, a lesson we must learn before it is too late. There is also pride hidden in the mirror. For when we see vanishings as failures of others, we quietly whisper to ourselves, perhaps we will do better. Perhaps we will not vanish. Perhaps we are the exception, the miracle, the species that endures where others fell. This belief may be arrogance, or it may be hope, but it is undeniably human. The mirror also exposes our hunger for meaning. For even as we confront vast cosmic silence, we refuse to accept emptiness. We fill the void with story, with metaphor, with reflection. The vanished stars might be nothing more than natural fluctuations, astrophysical processes beyond our grasp. Yet we imbue them with narrative, turning cold astronomy into living parable. Because we need the cosmos to mean something. Because without meaning, the silence becomes unbearable. Here lies another layer of reflection. The vanished stars are not only about civilizations, they are about the human impulse to narrate, to explain, to find order in the void. We cannot look at darkness without seeing a story. Even the silence becomes a mirror of our need for voice. Cinematically, imagine a sequence where vanished stars fade into human history: the fall of Rome, the burning of libraries, the collapse of ancient empires. Each collapse on Earth is reflected in the cosmos above. Just as civilizations have risen and fallen here, so too might they have risen and fallen there. The stars above become metaphors for the history below. But this mirror does not only reflect fear. It also reflects resilience. Humanity has stumbled, yes, but we have not yet fallen. For every collapse, there has been renewal. For every dark age, a renaissance. For every loss, rebirth. The vanished stars might mirror our fragility, but the burning stars mirror our endurance. Both are true. Both are human. The great question the mirror poses is this: will we be reflection or exception? Will we join the vanishings, another civilization extinguished, another light gone dark? Or will we endure, becoming proof that survival is possible? The answer is not in the stars. It is in us. The vanishings reveal less about distant galaxies and more about the choices we make here and now. Our stewardship of this planet. Our management of technology. Our ability to cooperate rather than destroy. Each choice is a brushstroke, painting our future onto the cosmic mirror. To make this vivid, imagine humanity standing before a cosmic gallery of portraits. Some frames are empty, their canvases burned away. Others are filled with shadow. Only a few glow with light. We are holding the brush, painting our place among them. The vanished stars are not prophecies, they are warnings. And warnings can be heeded. In the end, the vanished stars remind us of both our fragility and our power. Fragility because we may be no different than those who vanished before us. Power because, unlike them, we know their stories, at least in fragments. We can learn. We can adapt. We can choose. The mirror does not only show fate. It shows possibility. As this section closes, the voice would soften, the camera lingering again on a human face watching the night sky. The reflection of a single star glows in their eye. A whisper, the vanishings are not only about them. They're about us. What we fear, what we hope, and what we choose to become. The night sky is vast. It stretches endlessly, a sea of stars shimmering like scattered jewels upon black velvet. And yet, hidden within that brilliance are absences, stars that should be there but are not. Lights that once burned and now are gone. The mystery of their vanishing has carried us through theories of exodus, cloaking, collapse, and survival. But in the end, all of these threads lead us back to a single place. A question. The last question. What happens to civilizations in the long run? It is the oldest question we have ever asked. It is written in our myths, our religions, our philosophies. What becomes of us after we rise? After we build? After we dream? The vanished stars are but cosmic echoes of this eternal human inquiry. Are we destined for endurance or for silence? For triumph among the stars, or for disappearance into the dark? Cinematically, picture the final sequence. The camera drifting across the Milky Way, billions of suns flickering like candles. Some steady, some dimmed, some gone entirely. A voice whispers over the imagery. Which light will we become? The question is haunting because it cannot yet be answered. Perhaps we are alone, and the vanished stars are nothing more than natural fluctuations, astrophysical curiosities without deeper meaning. Perhaps civilizations never existed there at all, and the mystery is only in our imagination. But if that is true, then the silence of the galaxy is even more profound. It means we may be the first, the only, the fragile beginning of intelligence in the universe. And if so, the last question becomes heavier still. For if we vanish, then everything vanishes. Consciousness, wonder, meaning, all gone, extinguished without memory. But perhaps the opposite is true. Perhaps we are not alone. Perhaps civilizations have risen before us, soared across the stars, and vanished into silence. If so, then we are not first. But the silence suggests we may still be last. And the last question becomes even sharper. Asterisk, if they could not endure, why should we? Asterisk, between these two possibilities, first or last, the question hangs in the air like a sword. Do we represent the dawn or the twilight? Is humanity's story the beginning of a galactic chorus, or the last whisper of intelligence before eternal quiet? And yet, there is another possibility. One that shifts the final frame from despair to wonder. Perhaps they are still out there, hidden, enduring, watching. Perhaps the vanished stars are not graves but veils. Perhaps the silence is not emptiness but discretion. In that case, the last question takes on a new form. Not asterisk, will we survive? Asterisk, but asterisk, when will we meet? Asterisk, each possibility is intoxicating, each one laced with equal parts dread and awe. Alone and first, doomed and last, or surrounded yet unseen. Each interpretation of the vanished stars is a mirror of our own longing. The power of the last question lies not in its answer, but in its permanence. It is a question that endures across generations, across civilizations, across galaxies. Every culture that has looked up at the stars has asked it in some form. We ask it now. Others may have asked it before us. And perhaps, in ages to come, new species will ask it again. Asterisk, what happens to civilizations in the long run? Asterisk, cinematically, the score would swell here, low and resonant, as the camera pulls back from the Milky Way to reveal the wider cosmos. Clusters of galaxies, webs of light spanning billions of light years. Against this immensity, humanity is smaller than dust. And yet, the very fact that we ask the question gives us weight. The cosmos may be vast, but it cannot question itself. Only we can. Only intelligence can. That, in itself, is a kind of answer. For the last question is not only about survival. It is about meaning. If we endure, it is not only to exist but to wonder, to create, to understand. To vanish would be to silence that questioning. To endure would be to let the question live forever. The vanished stars remind us that the future is not guaranteed. That endurance is not inevitable. But they also remind us that the story is unfinished. We stand in the middle of it now, brush in hand, painting the canvas of our destiny. The stars that vanished cannot answer the last question. But we can. And we will. And so, the final frame lingers on Earth itself, a pale blue dot suspended in darkness. Fragile, yet luminous. The narrator whispers, asterisk, the last question is not only about them. It is about us. Will we vanish into silence, or will we become the light that endures? Asterisk, the music softens to silence. The screen fades to black.